Hi, this is TJ Dubois at Wycombe Wanderers, and you're listening to the Wycombe Wanderers Show.
Welcome to this week's edition of the Wycombe Wanderers Show, which, if you were listening last week, was planned to be a bit different this week. Last week was a bit different in that we couldn't have Bob on because he was on a plane. This week we do have Bob on, but he's reached his destination, and I'm very pleased to say we can speak to him now. Hello, sir. Tell us where you are.
I am in Phoenix, Arizona, where the weather is absolutely gorgeous. I'm looking outside on a sort of desert mountain scene. The reason for being in America, not actually the reason for being in Phoenix, Arizona, but one of the reasons for being in America is that next week I am going to fly to New Orleans and hopefully we'll be speaking to Rob Couhig and also going to Missy Couhig's shop as well, as I know that listeners will probably be thinking, well, hang on, you can speak to Rob Couhig when he's at Adams Park. Well, yes, I know that, but I want to come out and experience the Wycombe Wanderers worldwide phenomenon in what is sort of its spiritual home away from Adams Park, which is obviously Louisiana. And
celebrating Mardi Gras this Tuesday, of course, with a fantastic win at Adams Park. Still to come on the show this week as well. We'll hear from two Gareths. That's Gareth Ainsworth speaking after that win, and Garath McCleary as well, who scored a goal. We'll reflect on the defeat away at Accrington on Saturday.
Only slightly.
Yes, we'll try and sort of brush over it in our fantastic. We can brush over Accrington if that's a thing. We'll also, in our Wycombe Wanderers ex-player association slot, be catching up with Stephen Toll, who used to play in a number of defensive positions in the early 80s. You may well remember him.
And we will also catch up with Dave Ward, of course, the manager of Wycombe Wanderers Women, following the news that he is going to step down at the end of the season.
And we'll have another dose of Gareth before the end of the show as well. All that and more still to come. Plus, we'll, if you haven't heard, we'll be revealing, if that's the right word, the Bucks and Bucks Senior Cup semi-final opponents, or as they say where Bob is, semi-final opponents.
What a shame that they didn't actually ask us to do the draw live, because we would have definitely done that.
No, absolutely. Well, I think it has been sort of mooted, so it might happen in the future.
Oh, has it? Oh, yeah. You know, that would be very exciting. We'd like to do that. I would like to have the really important job of putting the balls into the little hat and then drawing them out. That would be very exciting.
That would be a highlight. Still to come. Keep your ears open for that.
I could just be a bingo caller and do that, I suppose.
Yes. Let's first of all, though, reflect on the trip to Accrington, where bingo, I'm sure, is very popular, and I imagine, and also though 7 games there without a win after that defeat.
And it all looked so good as well, didn't it? So Sam Boak's putting us ahead after 13 minutes, and you were thinking, oh, great, okay, you know, this is going to be our day. Then Accrington equalised, then suddenly Kai scored, and you thought, oh yeah, it's definitely going to be our day. But no, then Accrington scored twice more, and even managed to have a player sent off as well. And thanks for that, for the red card going to Mitch Clark. For a late challenge on Dominic Gape. Of all the players that it could have been, we didn't need it to be on Dominic Gape, who did actually manage to last the full 90 minutes, though Tellingly did not play and was not even in the side on Tuesday night.
Yeah, disappointing as he's only just come back from injury. And also, it's not the first time. There have been 2 goals up, of course.
Oh, I know. And you just, come on. Just hang on to a lead. And again, we will come on to this with regards to Tuesday night. But, you know, interesting sort of like the difference that happens when Anis Mehmeti starts as opposed to coming on as a substitute.
No, definitely. And really interesting as well that Gareth went with the back 4 on Tuesday and 3 at Accrington as well. But as Gareth says a bit later on, we've been top of the table with the back 3.
Yeah, well, and that's true. And also, I really remember Gareth saying earlier on in the season that, you know, all teams do go through a bad spell, and even cited Manchester City as, you know, even they will go through a bad spell. We're going through ours, obviously, at the moment, although hopefully now we have come through it. But obviously, again, you know, slightly disappointing that actually it was only a few weeks ago that we were top of the table, and now that actually we're just outside the playoffs. But let's look at it in a glass half full type way. You know, what a fantastic opportunity we now have to be that team that then pushes on straight back through the into the playoff positions and cementing our place there well before the end of the season.
I think as well, it's still really tricky to get a good picture, isn't it? Because so many teams have played different number of games as well.
Yeah, I mean, a bit like sort of last season, isn't it? It's not very, it's quite messy at the moment. Football generally, actually, when you look at tables, postponements, and things like that. And so yes, so everybody does seem to have played different games. Annoyingly, that Plymouth currently below us have played two less than we have. But at the same time, you look at Oxford who've played 36, and they're the only ones who played 36 at the moment. You'd rather be us than them, possibly.
And I know that we've spoken before as well, but so many teams do have a bit of a wobble, don't they, at certain parts in the season? And, especially more recently, Wycombe's defensive record doesn't seem to be quite so good. But I saw another stat that says, we're still well up there in the number of clean sheets in the season that we've had.
Yes, yeah, definitely. And exactly as you say, some teams do really, really struggle. You look at Charlton at the moment, who've lost their last five. You look at Lincoln, who, if you remember earlier on, not that long ago, were beating Sunderland, who've now lost their last three. So yes, teams do have wobbles, and Sunderland as well. Finally managed to get a win, but clearly, things are not happy up on Weir side.
So returning to Tuesday, which was a great opportunity to sort of put things right. There's something quite nice in there about playing on a Tuesday after a disappointment on a Saturday, and you get fresh sort of impetus, I guess it is the word. And Gareth saying that he got them in for extra training on Tuesday as well to sort of improve their free kick concedings.
And didn't it work? The fact that we were 2 up within 15 minutes, and finally, that's what we wanted. Finally, just one of those games where you could then actually watch it and think, oh, good, okay, yes, everything is going to be okay today. I know that it was slightly nervy towards the end. Sam Vokes becoming a wonderful defender when he clears off the line. But it just fantastic that we finally managed to get 3 points, because that was all I was really thinking was, even going into the Accrington game, it was just like, I don't care how we win, how messy it is, whatever, we just need to win. Obviously, it didn't happen against Accrington, so wonderful that we managed to do it against Cambridge.
Well, it really highlights, doesn't it, how influential Sam Vokes has been, and you got man of the match, player of the month for February as well. You mentioned
player of the month, even, yes.
Player of the day, he's got everything. Player of the week, player of he's getting all the accolades at the moment.
Player of the fortnight. Definitely, yeah. And I think also interesting the position that Cambridge are in. And again, we've said this previously, that we are sort of getting to that stage of the season now where it's almost possibly better to play those teams that are maybe in the middle, because actually they're not maybe quite yet looking at their summer holidays, but probably they are safe from relegation. They're probably not going to be troubling the playoff positions. Whereas you look at a team Doncaster, actually, keep, even though they seem to be relegation zone, do keep producing results.
Oh, news just in, Sam Vokes has been voted player of the last 10 minutes as well.
Oh, good, excellent. And so I hope I haven't now jinxed, obviously, this Saturday, where of course we're playing Crewe, who are currently bottom of the division. And again, they will probably, you would feel, maybe be slightly scrapping for their lives harder than Cambridge were. But even so, again, if we are serious about this getting into the playoffs, we need to be beating Crewe.
I'm really pleased to see Anis Mehmeti on the score sheet as well. We've had Sully Kaikai scoring recently as well. It's quite exciting, isn't it, for the youngsters to be getting in and amongst the goals.
Definitely, and I do feel with Anis that he is someone who, when he starts for Wycombe, always seems to actually be more effective than when he comes on as a substitute. I always feel when he comes on as a substitute, he's a bit like the kid at school who is easily the best player and tries to do absolutely everything. And it's as if he comes on and thinks, oh, I've only got 15 minutes to try and alter this game. I must try and do absolutely everything. Whereas actually, I think he's a little bit more relaxed when he plays the full 90 minutes. And so it was on Tuesday night. He was absolutely wonderful.
It's a really good point. We'll hear from the other goal scorer, Garath McCleary, in a few moments' time, but manager Gareth Ainsworth spoke to Phil after the game.
It's Mardi Gras, isn't it? So it's a present for Rob and Pete, that, and Missy over in New Orleans. I'm sure they're celebrating today, and so I think I had to win today. But no, joking aside, I thought the boys were superb. I really did. We had one scare there where Sam Vokes has cleared it off the line. Apart from that, I thought we looked dangerous a lot. we've been working on one or two things, as people will probably see tonight, and I'm proud of the boys, the bravery they showed at times on the ball. And they're good players. They're very good players when they can put it together like that. Having Ryan back was a big bonus, you know. He's struggled with his groin, but he's back now, and I thought he was imperious in defence, and brought Anthony along with him. Yeah, one or two changes. Anis has come up with the goods really well, but Garath McCleary, I think, was outstanding, back to his best. Just all round, you know, the 11. We had a meeting yesterday, and Daz stood up in the meeting and just said to the boys, you know, this is just a bad run we're on. The performances have been there, and I agree with him. And it's really easy to look at the 7-game unbeaten losing run, sorry, not losing, but not winning run, and go, right, 7 without a win. But if you look really in depth into it, 2 maybe we didn't deserve to win. The rest of them we're really fighting in there, and 60 odd chances in 2 games, and we are a good side. And sometimes, you know, you've got very short memories, and the saying is you're only as good as your last game. I think that's an absolute load of rubbish. You're only as good as your next game is what I want to say, and we're going to stick to that. So we won't be resting on this. We've got Crewe on Saturday. That's our next game. We've got to be good for that one. Judges after 46, as they always say, but we're right in it amongst the teams like Sheffield Wednesday who've come into it now, Oxford, Portsmouth are coming now. You know, there's been some crazy results tonight, but a 3-0 win at home was just what we needed, and thank you boys, you've delivered for me. I had faith, and I'd like to say that, you know, our owners have had faith with me. They've been nothing but supportive through this little run, but to get the W back on the forum guide is a big moment for us, and we want to go and back this up now and get another one on Saturday.
3 goals, 3 points, and I'm guessing the next thing on the list was the clean sheet after a run of games where we've let a lot of goals in.
Yeah, listen, we have been sloppy at set pieces, you know, and I've said that, you know, the last 6 goals, I think 5 of them have been set plays, so we have to get better at that. I brought the boys in this afternoon for training to work on set pieces, and I don't usually do that on a game day, but sometimes as a manager you've got to make them go through the hard yards, you know, and get them in and say, right, we haven't been good enough for this, we're working on this. Yesterday we obviously worked on a little bit of a different method of going forward as well. I think there's a transition today. I think it's a moment where you look at that team and think, you know what, for the last 6, 7, 8 years we've been total underdogs with absolutely nothing. We've got some good players in this side now, and we need to play to those players' strengths at times. Still, we've got the way we do things, the energy, the pressing, the absolute sort of physical side that we pride ourselves on so much, but there's touches of quality now, real quality that you can see in the games, and I think tonight was a real good turning point for us this season.
Horgan, Mehmeti, McCleary playing off Stan Vokes. I mean, that should get home fans purring here.
There's 3 internationals in that, and there's one probably international when he starts playing for Albania, so you can't dismiss the attacking flair that those boys have got, with Lewis winging behind, who I thought was, again, his best performance for us so far, you know. I think we're growing as a team, and Dave back in the goal, he looked superb, he looked confident, and the way he gave that ball out and distributed that ball tonight was super. So yeah, really pleased with the result, but it's only one game, you know. I'm not going to get carried away. It's only 1 win in 7 now, so, but it's 1 win in 1 for me, and I'll take that.
And those 3 players I've just mentioned, Soleil Kaikai's been on really good form of late, and I guess the message was that if you're going to start, you've got to keep your place by giving me the performance. Yeah,
big calls, you know. Soleil coming out, and Brandon, who's been in great form as well. We score goals. We know we can score. We've done it all season. It was keeping them out that was important. I went to a 4 tonight. You know, we got to the top of the league with a 3 at the back at the end of January, but we looked solid as that 4 today, and I was pleased. We've got different ways of playing. Scouts can come and watch us and try and work out what we're going to do, and I said to the boys, being unpredictable is a real big strength, and we're certainly that at the moment. It was a real good Wycombe performance tonight, and I might have to have a beer with Pete for Mardi Gras.
Crewe up next, they're bottom of the table, but I know what you're going to say. League One is a tough division, and anyone can beat anyone.
Anyone can beat anyone, you know. They've just won on Saturday, you know, so I know David Artell was here tonight watching us. Great guy. We're away from home, you know, and they gave us a scare early on in the season here, a last minute winner from Ryan Tafazzola. So we're not taking anything for granted. After that we got Rotherham and Fleetwood and Portsmouth coming up. No game will be easy now, but I know we're right in the mix. I believe that if there is a right time to drop out of the playoffs, we managed it. All I've said now is let's find the right time to get back in them, and that'll be after 46 games.
Really pleasing to hear such positivity from the manager, who of course doesn't lack positivity at the best of times, but as he said, it's only one win, and hopefully they can build on that. A clean sheet obviously very important, but as Gareth there said, there's that expression, isn't there, that you're only as good as your last game, but he sort of rubbished that and saying you're only as good as your next game.
Yeah, and that's very true. I always find that actually he's almost more positive after they've lost than after they've won. Where when they win, it's very much sort of like keeping their feet on the ground and not getting carried away. And yes, that's Gareth completely to form, I think. And definitely, Tuesday night will not mean nearly as much now if we don't manage to beat Crewe away on Saturday.
Really pleasing to see Garath McCleary as well. Sort of, he seems to be coming into form just at the right time.
He really does, yeah. Great that he's come back from injury. I think it's taken him a little while to slightly find the form that we saw before he got injured. But really, really good. Great that he's on the score sheet, and as you say, just finding form at exactly the right time.
He's been speaking to Matt about that form and sort of a view from inside the dressing room as well to see what's been happening in there of late.
All the boys are putting a very good shift. We're all obviously tired, but it's what you need. We've given everything today for the gaffer. For ourselves, we know recently our form hasn't been of best, but it's not a lack of effort that isn't getting those wins. So it's definitely one I can definitely go home and I can sleep out tonight.
Yeah, one win doesn't necessarily right all of those wrongs, but as you say, it wasn't a lack of effort. What did you put that little run down to?
It's a few factors. Probably a couple of games not finishing our chances. Me setting a high standard myself. I know there's a couple of chances I could put away in certain games, and obviously set pieces, which we as a team we're very good at normally. So recent games we haven't been, but it's a collective, it's a team effort, and we all take it from the attack all the way to defence, so it's no one culprit, it's all of us as a team, and we know we can do that.
Tonight, everything did click at both ends, and particularly pleasing for you as well to end for you what's been a little goal drought. I haven't scored so many before Christmas.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a goal drought. So I'm glad to get on the score sheet, but obviously mainly just to get the win. We needed it. We've been quite a few without a win. Even the draws, where probably some of the draws we should have won. Just to get a good win here at Adams Park is the main thing.
It's you that's walking away with the bubbly tonight, the sponsor's choice as man of the match, but Anis Mehmeti must have run you close as well. 2 big goals for him, obviously your assist for his second, and what big shift he put in as well. Yeah, he did, definitely. One thing with Anis, he's got all the technical ability as well, but he works his socks off, and he's normally at the top of the running stats as well, so you know that you're going to get an effort from him. He's done really well this season when he's played, and pretty much all the boys have done well when they've come in and played, so we know there's competition for places, and we're going to have to keep performing to keep our place.
Don't forget you can hear those interviews in full on Wanderers TV. Great to hear from, we've had 2 Gareths so far, and there's more Gareths to come on the show as well. We'll hear from...
3 doses of Gareth on the Wycombe Wanderers Show. You don't get that anywhere else.
We'll try and get you more Gareths as the week go on. Just if you're called Gareth and you'd like to contribute to the show, get in touch with us. No, you don't have to. Might be a new feature though. Still to come on this week's edition of the Wycombe Wanderers Show, we will hear from manager Gareth Ainsworth again, looking ahead to the game against Crewe, which will be his 500th in charge. That's quite exciting, isn't it?
It is. That's yes. Who else could we have on? I'm just trying to think. Gareth Bale, maybe. Gareth Edwards.
Other famous Gareth.
Gareth Hunt.
Bob in Arizona contributing Gareth.
Online, on Radio Player, and on 106.6 FM. This is Wycombe Sound.
Still to come on this week's edition of the Wycombe Wanderers Show, we'll hear from Wycombe Wanderers Women's manager Dave Ward. We'll hear more from Bob, who's in Arizona, and we'll hear from manager Gareth Ainsworth. But first, as mentioned a little while ago, with thanks to the Wycombe Wanderers Ex-Players Association, this week we're chatting to Stephen Toll, whose brother played for the club as well. He lived in the area for a long time, lived in Flackwell Heath, has only recently moved away from Loudwater, and we've been catching up with him to chat to him about some of his memories, including being an Isthmian League title winner. But first, as tends to be the case, we asked him how he first became a Wycombe Wanderers player.
To be perfectly honest with you, it stemmed back from a long time from playing basically school football at Flackwell Heath. It sounds a weird start, but Mike Keane, being a Flackwell man, used to always come along and watch every game that he could watch, he would watch. And he was the manager at the time, so he used to watch over the fence, and then he got involved with doing the Flackwell Heath under 10s, under 11s, 12s, 13s, 16s, and all the way through got brought up with Mike through all the youth team football, and then went into the men's at Flackwell, and then just sort of it progressed from there and went on to, no other club apart from Wycombe from Flackwell. And Mike brought a lot of young players from there, which was Paul West and myself and, local people that he wanted to build a good team, but a team around,
That must have made a real difference as well, to have so many local players in the side.
I think it helped, yeah, because a lot of my friends used to come down and, and it was good, it was, and I say like local people because my brother was there as well, and at Wycombe, and we played together as well, and everything sort of come together nicely. In actual fact, my brother was there before me, so...
That must be really nice as well, having a sibling at the club, but also, as you say, playing alongside him as well.
Yeah, it was really good at the time. It was absolutely fantastic. But it's sort of like he came to a sort of basically a bit of a sticky end because he got knocked down by a car in Wycombe, by the church in Wycombe, and the car rode when he was doing really well. He was being watched by a few clubs, I think, and what happened was, I think the car rode the curb on the corner to cut it, and it smashed his knee, so he was in traction for weeks and weeks in hospital, and then he played after it, but he just lost his speed,
Of course.
From what he was to what he turned out to be. He could have been amazing player, but after that, it was a shame. It just sort of finished his strong football career, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, really disappointing for obviously him and your family as well. But you played in a number of defensive positions as well. Yeah.
I'd basically, if Mike said you're right back, I was right back. If he said you're sweeper, I was sweeper. It didn't matter to me. If I was playing. So I was over the moon. Basically it's quite an honour. Being a local bloke and then playing at Lokes Park. It's great. It's fantastic. To drive up that hill at the side and then go into the ground. It was big ground there. Nice. It was a good feeling,
I was going to say, it really must make it, being a local person as well, to be representing your local side.
It did. That was mostly the part of it all, really. And having sort of like quite a few local guys there as well, I mean, it made it more friendly. And obviously with Mike there, and my brother, and my best friend like Paul, one of my best friends like Paul West, coming all the way through from county football and like district football and that coming up. And then we both at Flackwell, and then we both went to there. It was really good, it's quite nice, But that was only sort of basically to get into the reserves, because they had the reserves team then. And so from there, you sort of just played against all the local teams that the first team were in, and then basically played against the reserve sides, and then if you did well, you got called up. If you didn't, then you're back in the reserves. It's quite nice.
No, definitely. I was just going to say we had Mark Hill on the show the other week. He was obviously someone who's at the club around the same time, but loads of other great names as well that you played alongside as well.
Oh yeah, blimey! I've got a few of the old pictures there, and Mark's in one of the ones that was in when we played Bristol Rovers in the Cup, in the FA Cup, and it got so many decent players in that side. In actual fact, it made I didn't put myself, being local, not sort of like, didn't think myself as a fantastic player, but with having so many good players around you, makes your game so much easier. They make you look better than what, if you was on your own. I weren't a star, but you was one of the 11. But having so many people around you, that was there, like George Borg and Howard Kennedy, Steve Long, and Terry Glynn up front, and Delhi, and it's amazing amount of people.
And Gary Lester, obviously in goal, who sadly lost recently. He was at the club a long time and a real kind of legendary name in the team.
Yeah, he was immense. When I first started, it was sort of Maskell. John Maskell was in goal, and when I very first got into the first team, but that wasn't and then Gary took over from that, and cool, he was just different class. He was quality and a nice bloke, though. You know what I mean? He liked to have a beer after the game, and it was good atmosphere, very good atmosphere, good team morale.
And it must have felt great to have made over 100 appearances, because you must have felt really sort of established at the club, because I guess not too many. Well, there's obviously a list, I guess, if you like, but not too many people have made over 100 appearances for the club.
No, it's good, but sometimes you play. I think Bob Dell won the season. I think one of them. I think he played. I think it was in one season. It was a ridiculous amount, because we were so, because we was all in the B&Bs and all the local cups and all the Dylon Trophy then and different trophies, and you play. I think he clocked up nearly 70 games in a season.
That's incredible. You couldn't imagine players doing that these days.
No, I think I was one behind him, but I don't know why that was. But but you think so? You clock him up, but I was over there quite a period of time, but it just seemed as though it was. I don't know. I didn't have the belief in myself sometimes, and that's why I sort of a parted. I didn't. When new players come in, I weren't strong character. I was sort of not bullied, not anything, but you didn't feel as though you was worthy to be at such a good club. Do you understand what I mean? I'm trying to sort of say it it wasn't like I felt not that I didn't appreciate my own qualities in the game. If I could stand back and look, you most probably would have think differently, possibly. But and then I sort of just when Mick went to Mike Keane went to Marlow, then I went down there with him, and it was sort of like a sort of gradual sort of change,
Yeah, no, certainly. It sounds like you had a real sort of close bond with the manager as well, as you say, being from Flackwell as well, and it must have been great to play under him for you.
Yeah, it's very. He was just a family friend, We used to go round there, and he used to come round to our house and that with my mum and dad, and his wife Glenn, and they were a lovely family, Especially as Kevin done so well as well, in that, and so he certainly knew how to motivate people, but without being. He never used to tell you. He used to ask you, and then you used to just go and play for him. It was great.
That's really nice to hear, because I guess many supporters would only perhaps know him as the manager, or perhaps know him from his sports shop in the towns. Or...
Oh yeah, that was where we first. I mean, even from the under-10s, you used to get a pair of boots. You used to go in and see Mick, and him or Viv Busby were in there, and they used to give you when it first started, they give you all the percentages off, and he said sometimes they'd bring a load of socks and stuff for training, and just overshots, and he used to pass them out, and he was such a nice man, such a quality bloke.
No, absolutely. Does it feel like a long time ago? We were chatting to Mark and saying he says sometimes it does, and sometimes it feels like comparatively recently.
I can remember so many games, you know what I mean, but in different ways. But it seems like yesterday, but I know just because I'm just going to turn in October 62, and you think I was 21, I think, or 22 when I went there, and I think, my God, it's over 40 years, you know what I mean? So, but you can still remember. Like I said, I can still remember sort of going to the Lokes Park and in their clubhouse, like a railway carriage, just really long and straight, and it was just a good club, very nice, run very well with people behind the scenes, with Bill Clear and different people, Dave Springle with the physio, and they were great men,
Are there any particular games which really stand out as highlights?
Yeah, I mean, there was a few when we had a really good run on the. I've got some of the programmes actually here, because I've still kept all my old bits and clippings, and only when my name's in them. But the programmes of when we was in the FA Trophy, and then we got all the way through to the semi-final and had 2 legs against Altrincham. I mean, that's 1980, so 1960, so I was 22, yeah. So, And then we got to the semi-final and we drew at their place, 1 each. And then we had the home game, and we thought, hang on, this is, one step away from being at Wembley, you know what I mean? It was so massive. And we weren't conference, we was Isthmian League then, which made it even better because we were playing conference teams, And we got beat 3-1 at home, and it was so depressing to be so close and yet so far, if you know what I mean.
No, of course. And it must have been brilliant to win the Isthmian League title as well, be part of that team.
Yes, absolutely. That was great. It was but it was like I said, it's as much as it's, a great, it is a great thing to win it. It was, but you could understand why they won it. They had such a talented players, flair players, good flair players. And once the ball got passed out of defence, it was down to them, and they were so good going forward.
And did it feel at the time like you were part of a really special team or a really special sort of time in the club's history?
Yes, it did. To me, it did. I felt, very, very sort of proud that you could be involved in have all the local people in the local football, and people just come off parks and playing, local, good standards, but local football like Hellenic leagues and this and that, and then to step up to going into that, versus some really good sides at the time, and you sort of look back and you think, you must have had something, to sort of hang on, and do the amount of time that we did,
And the team had such great support around that time as well.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah. I used to have my old work colleagues, wherever I worked. I used to do chair making when I first started, and used to have the old boys coming up, and standing down there giving me a load of rubbish, and then they get it all the next day at work, shouting at you from down the bottom in the shed bit down the bottom, and it's massive crowds though. They was, thought you wouldn't think you could get it up for a non-league Isthmian League team, if you know what I mean. But Wycombe love their football, I think, and the area.
So what happened to you after your time at the club?
Well, like I say, I had a bit of a turn at Marlow, and we went from sort of Division 3 up to the Premier League in Marlow with Mike, and Bobby Dale was down there, and that, it was sort of a time to move. It was not for everybody, but for me it was a time to move on, and that was good times. But then I sort of got an injury playing for local football, and I twisted, because you could do Sunday mornings and that, and twisted, and I was out for nearly a year and a half, and it took me ages to come back, and it was ligaments, which has been hence the trouble with sort of 2 replacements now, and 2 knee replacements, and sort of basically semi-retired, or retired basically.
And you hear about so many players that are moving away, or perhaps not even local at the time that they're playing. But it's so nice that you've been, associated with the area and lived in the area for so long as well.
Oh yeah, I've never played outside really. I think one of the games when a few of the boys, local lads, a lot of the black guys around Wycombe who I was playing with at the time, and they went across to Shelford St Peter, and that was when I was coming back from injury, and I think Bobby Dale was across there as well, and I went across there, and it took me ages to get back into it, but once I did, it got better and better, and then you're getting older and older, aren't you? So, it was sort of, you're coming down with your age, if you know what I mean, in standards of football, but it was good times, And
what do we find you doing these days?
Nothing, basically. I'm retired, as I don't work anymore. So, like I said, I've had the knee replacements, which make it difficult, and I've got sort of obviously arthritis in different parts of my body, but not painful, but they're there, and copeable. Apart from that, really, I sort of like to just potter about, doing a bit of stuff with my boys, a bit of fishing here and there. Son's just got a puppy dog, so we're puppy sitting at times, all different things, but it just keeps you occupied, keeps you ticking over,
And really nice for you to keep an eye on the club and how they're doing now, especially as you played such a key part in it as well.
You look at that. I joke with my boys. I said, well, if it weren't for me, they wouldn't be where they are now, and I sort of jokingly. But you do feel that, if Wycombe weren't, if Mike hadn't have cherry picked a few of these players, and a few of them came from further afield, like from London, like George Borg and Terry Glynn and people like that, and Mark Hill, I don't think they would have stepped up another level. But having those sort of type of contacts and what he knew, I think Mike was quite a pivotal part of Wycombe, I think, personally, to the next level, and then I left Wycombe for a little while, and then got asked to go back to Wycombe and played in the conference, for a while with Alan Gain, who was a nice guy as well, and that went okay, actually. It was better than what I thought. And then that was with Mark Hill and different players, but everything moved on, and they looked so good, those players, you feel like you're left behind, but you're not, or else you wouldn't have gone there, but you just didn't, it just felt weird, There was then you were getting some nice crowds in the conference, but it's a hell of a lot of travelling, I was working, like doing roofing at the time and getting paid £50 a day, but having half a day off work to have an away game, and I was getting paid like 30 quid at Wycombe. I was losing, I wasn't making no money, if you know what I mean, because I was losing work, and then I was getting paid, but that was it. It was, the wages were the wages, I was a smaller player, whereas the bigger players might have been getting a bit of a chunk more, but that was part and parcel. That's learning and coming up,
Of course, it's so easy to forget, isn't it, with the full-time players of today?
Yeah, but that's what I say. It's maybe at the time they thought it was a reasonable price, and then you just get on with it. It's sort of, it's not like anything that you don't do it. I mean, to me, it wasn't the money at all. It was the fact of the ground, the people, and the surroundings. It was a good atmosphere. You used to get the complimentaries from Bill Clear and leave them on the gate for your mums and dads or whatever, or your brother who wanted to come down if he weren't playing, or and it was good. Yeah, it was good times. Very proud. Yeah.
Oh, it's been fantastic to speak to you and share your memories. Thank you so much, Lee, for your time.
Oh, no, it's great. It's lovely. It's lovely to talk to you as well.
Online, on Radio Player, and on 106.6 FM. This is Wycombe Sound.
Still to come on the Wycombe Wanderers Show, a final word from Bob. As is tradition on the programme, we'll catch up with manager Gareth Ainsworth. A quick note from today as well. Wycombe Wanderers have been drawn against Ascot United in the semi-finals of the Bucks and Bucks Cup. The date and kick-off time and ticket details have yet to be announced for that. Another of the quarter-finals is still to be played as well, of course, in that competition. You might recall last month, Wycombe getting to the last four by beating Long Crendon at Tame with a 4-0 win. A great run out for some of the fringe players of the squad. Wycombe Wanderers Women manager Dave Ward, you might have heard today, has announced he's leaving at the end of the season, and here are the factors which have led to that decision.
A lot of it is to do with where I live in comparison to Wycombe, which is some 50 odd miles away. So my round trip just for training sessions and for home games is around about 100 miles round trip, and I think after 3 years, it's just started to wear me down. And I'm not getting any younger. And, I think looking at where the club is now on the female side of the club, from when I first came in August 19 to what we have in place now, is a world apart. We had some trust involvement through David Robertson, rest his soul, and that was really the start of when I came in, and it became more apparent the longer I was there that we actually needed to have the trust take more involvement, so that we had a management structure behind us, and we established that just over a year ago under the chairmanship of Nigel Kingston. And I have to say that having that board there has just given so much more stability. And the other big change for us was that being able to get the player pathway from under 18 all the way through to first team by moving last season's under 18s into the reserved section so that they could then start experiencing senior women's football. And all of those things have actually fallen into place really nicely and served us well this season, particularly in the younger age groups, not so much in the first team this season, but that's for other reasons. And I think having got the club to where it is now, I think now is a good time to step back, take a breath of fresh air and allow someone else to come in and build on that work. For me, as I say, I'm going to be the tender age of 64 by the time the new season starts, and I've been doing this for an awful long time in terms of having been a player, coach and manager in the men's non-league game and then coming into women's football about 14 years ago. It's been a long and varied career. So, lots of things are compounded. So, for me, it's about going back to being a fan again, I guess, and also being able to observe the progress of a lot of the youngsters that we have at Wycombe currently, some of whom have already broken into the first team at the age of only 16. And I've got 3 of those regularly starting at the moment, which I think is testament to the development work we've been doing at the younger end of the age group. And, for me, it's now about time to sit back and watch those players develop, catch up with former teammates, catch up with former players who are still playing and go and watch what they're up to, and just have a bit more flexibility around my time, really.
Because I guess while you're doing it, you don't really get much chance to actually reflect on, what's been achieved during your time at the club. But obviously, you must be so pleased that you've been able to bring some stability, and also, in the raising the profile of both the women's game, obviously, but also the club itself, who just got promotion, and as you say, the players you've been able to bring in, and the young talent you've been able to nurture as well.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think the club is in a very healthy place. We've got a very good relationship with the parent club. Obviously, with having Tony Hector on our board as well as the main club board is very helpful in that respect. And of course, we've got the Supporters Trust who are very much firmly behind us. And then, of course, we get the support and the profile through shows like your own, and also at Wycombe Sound, particularly at live games when we've had all of the young female teams there, along with their managers and coaches. They've enjoyed a really good day out and had a lot of interviews. Some nervous young ladies, but I think they've enjoyed it overall, and getting out onto the pitch and meeting the players. So raising that profile has been really important in my time at the club.
And from speaking to you, it feels like you feel that you're leaving it in a really healthy state.
Yes, I think so. The first team is probably not where I'd have liked it to have been, but we've experienced so many injuries, and it resulted in some players having to retire from playing before the start of the season. But this season, I lost captain Charlotte Bagshaw to a pre-season anterior cruciate ligament injury. Then I lost Bobby Lynch, who's one of our strongest and most experienced players. Probably, I think it was second or third game into the league season, she did her ACL as well. And just last week in a Chairman's Cup game down at AFC Stoneham, sadly Sarah Harrison also experienced an ACL rupture. And so 3 in less than a year has been a huge blow to us. And trying to replace the quality of player that I lost at the beginning of the season has been incredibly difficult. And coupled with the injuries, it's meant we've had to fast-track some of the youngsters into the squad. Whilst they've got bags of ability, they lack some of the game experience. So it's a little surprise that some weeks we do really well and other weeks we do less well. But, I think with the basis of the youngsters that we have and the core of the first team squad that remains from the senior group, there's plenty to build on for next season for whoever comes in to take on the role.
And you've got one more league game remaining. I'm sure that the players will be keen to sort of send you off on a high.
Well, it's important that we send each other off on a high, really, because like it or not, we're still theoretically at risk of being relegated. Games are running out for the sides that are playing catch-up at the moment, but mathematically it's possible they can overhaul us. I'm looking for Abingdon United to do us a favour and beat Woodley on Sunday. If they do that, I think Woodley are going to find it very difficult to close the gap, and they're sat bottom of the table at the moment. Oxford City could theoretically catch us, but they don't look capable at the moment. And Winchester, who our last game against, that's going to be quite a close fought battle, I think. But they may finish a place ahead of us, or we may retain our position ahead of them. So currently out the 9 sides, we're 6th, but that could fall as low as 7th or 8th. I'm hoping it doesn't, so I'm hoping that we can take some matters into our own hands a week on Sunday when we play Winchester and come away with all 3 points. Because the players have worked incredibly hard and deserve better than results show, I think, just by the sheer endeavour that they put into games and the fact that they're listening and progressing very effectively, throughout the season, especially with the youngsters coming in.
Well, it's been great to speak to you. Obviously, wish you all the best with whatever comes next for you. Hopefully, we'll catch up with you again in a couple of weeks anyway to sort of review the season.
Yeah, that would be great, Colin. But I go with a lot of satisfaction, a lot of pleasure, and having had a very enjoyable experience with Wycombe Wanderers Women. And of course, I'm looking to the end of season function as well, because I think that should be quite a good evening once we've got that organised. And hopefully go out with a bang then.
And we'll be hearing more from Dave Ward with a season review of Wycombe Wanderers Women still to come in the coming editions of the Wycombe Wanderers Show. The Chairgirls losing by 7-1 over the weekend in the Chairman's Cup. Shante Innes scoring the what proved to be the consolation goal for Wycombe. The next in action in their rearranged game against Winchester City Flyers week on Sunday. That's the 13th of March. Obviously, wish them all the best for that. And as mentioned, hopefully they'll go out on a high. Wycombe Wanderers in action on Saturday, of course, at Crewe. Crewe currently bottom of the table. Been speaking to manager Gareth Ainsworth to preview that, but also to look back on the last couple of games as well.
As I said in the press after the game, the win is great, but I think we've only been off it really in the one game. I think we've only been off it in the game against Wigan. I think that was a real test for us, and I thought they were a good side. But all the other games, I think we've been well in. Performances have been there. We've had loads of shots. Accrington, we know what happened. They just stepped on us big time. But the performances have been there. The win just is something that we needed, and a great clean sheet, a confidence boost for everybody, and some great performances on the night as well.
I think you said after the game that you've been working on something a bit different, which has sort of come across in the game. Was that sort of all it needed, really, or has it been just the case that you've kind of stuck with the way things have been going, and you've been confident that a win would come sooner or later anyway?
I think what happens is that when things don't go your way, sometimes you tense up, and sometimes you make decisions that, under pressure, you can often make decisions that aren't the right ones, and I think there was a little bit of tension up, a little bit of fear in the boys. We seem to become very predictable on a couple of things, and I just wanted to make sure that we know what our strengths are, but also, we can be unpredictable, we can mix things up, and I think that was important to work on. As I said again after the game, I think as well as the championship last year and new signings and the Curries coming in, I think football-wise this season is probably going to be our big transition season football-wise, because of the old guard of your Bloomfields and your Accrington was there. They're finishing this year, and we've lost one or two of the older players, even your Beans, your Tysons, and Michael Smiths, all that stuff. The Jacobson, obviously a year older now, and all that sort of old guard that has served us for so many years so well at this club. We wouldn't have made anything without those people. We wouldn't even be the club we are. I think we've got this new crop coming through now, which is football as a whole is different. In general, is so different. But we've got some really talented players on the ball, some real individual stuff that isn't always great. But if you get it working in a team, then it's fantastic. And I think we saw the start of that on Tuesday night, where we're being a bit braver on the ball. We're playing to people's strengths, but I won't let it get out of hand where people start thinking better than they are either. You've got to stay grounded. There's a real fine balance in this, and we've got to work that balance. But I think in the next games and years to come, this club will be changing again the way it looks at and the way it is. Like I say, it's football. It's the evolution, and you can't stand still too long, and we're definitely not going to do that.
Does it feel like certain players are coming into form perhaps at the right time? Obviously, Gareth scored on Tuesday night, and Anis as well, and Sully's done especially well recently, in Jordan as well.
Yeah, do you know, I think Ryan back from injury was brilliant on Tuesday. I think that was a big plus for us as well at the back. I think that came at the right time because, we'd let a few goals in. We've had people who served us so well, and we were top of the league 4 or 5 weeks ago, so there wasn't anything majorly wrong, but I just think there's a tiny little mental shift sometimes when you get towards the end of a season and you've played all season and things become tighter and bigger teams start to become in. And so I think, as you say, big players come in good at the right time. If there is a good time to do it, I think we dropped out the playoffs at the right time because I think there's something now to strive for to get back into these. And rather than fearing and being the hunted, we're definitely the hunter, and I think we're always good as the hunter. We're always good as that one who, can we catch somebody? Can we upset people? I think we're always good at that at Wycombe Wanderers, and I'm sure there's a few of these bigger, so-called bigger clubs looking over their shoulders now, thinking, have Wycombe fallen away? Has their form? Have they lost it, or are they coming back now? Because look at the names on the team sheet, and some of them you won't even know, your Mametis and your Farinos, but believe me, they're going to play a big part in this running.
And also in terms of injuries, you don't seem to have too many unavailable, which sort of bodes well going forward as well.
Yeah, Curtis Thompson, obviously, the big tackle at the end of the Cheltenham game. He's tweaked his knee ligaments, I think, so he will be the only one missing from any action. I mean, Dominic Gape came back and performed really well at Accrington, but he knows he's got to build his match fitness up, and we don't want to risk Dom at all. And the likes of Joe Jacobson, out of the squad on Tuesday, and it just shows how far the club has come and where we are. And Joe's a fantastic player and played a proper captain's part in the dressing room before the game. But he's definitely one of those players I aforementioned that is without him, this club would be nowhere near where it is now. It's brilliant. We've got all these players, these superb servants guiding these new crop of players into the right Wycombe way, and I'm not talking about style of football. I'm talking about culture, and that's what they do. But back to the injury side of things, the physios, Kieran, Ali, and Isaac have been fantastic, keeping everyone fit, keeping everyone fresh for me. And Dave Waits and Ben Sayers on the loading. As I say, these are huge in the game. Injuries can really cause problems for football clubs, and touch wood, we've had very few this season, and hopefully we can continue that till the end of the season.
So what sort of challenge are you expecting on Saturday at Crewe?
Yeah, big challenge. They've just won a game, so their tails are up, and they're fighting for their lives. They've got nothing to lose at all. They're coming to the division. David Ortel has done really well getting them up. And we were there only 3 years ago. Crazy to think that. To think maybe 4 now we can say that our first season in League One for quite some time, and all we wanted to do was survive. And if we'd have gone down, people would have probably accepted it and gone, okay, yeah, we're Wycombe, we've only just got up. And I think that's what Crewe are thinking now, nothing to lose. They can still do it without a shadow of a doubt. So, they'll be fighting and scrapping for the points at Gretzky Road on Saturday. So I'll be warning my players that they will not be resting on anything. My new saying is you're only as good as your next game. That's my new saying, because I'm sick of people saying you're only as good as your last game, because I think it's an absolute stupid statement. Of course you're not as good as your last game. If you lost your last game but you won the Premier League, you've won the Premier League. You're not as good as your last game. So you're only as good as your next game, and our next game is Crewe, and we really have to be focused and back up what we did on Tuesday. Otherwise, that would be a bit of a pin in a bubble, because at the moment everyone's confident and everyone's buzzing with the result.
And good to have Ryan back. He scored twice against Crewe last time.
He certainly did, a right foot last minute equaliser. I remember that one. So he's definitely a big asset to this club, and I think me and Ryan have sat down and had some real good chats lately, and spelled out what we both are looking for this season, for the rest of the season for him, and if we can keep him fit. Ryan Taffer's always a fantastic centre half when he's in form, and alongside we've got Anthony Stewart, we've got Chris Farino pushing both of them, and Joe Jacobson, who can play there, Jack Grimmer, again another absolutely fantastic player. So I've got plenty of options, and young Jack Wakely, who we haven't seen, he's had a terrible season injury-wise, in his first real professional season. So believe me, he's a real good asset as well, and so I'm blessed with these central defenders doing well. Hopefully we can keep more clean sheets, and Ryan can be at the heart of that.
And just finally, a big congratulations to you on what will be your 500th game in charge of the club.
Oh yeah, it sneaked up on me, believe me. And the first person to remind me was the opposition manager on Tuesday. So Mark Bonner, who I've got a great deal of respect for, he came up to me at the end of the game and said, "Right, I need to now come and speak to you after the game to see what it takes to manage 500 games, because I'd love to get there." Which I thought was a really nice comment. And so he was the one who reminded me it was. I'm sure that it'd be a nice occasion, but I would love to mark 500 with a win. That'd be fantastic.
Amazing that we're talking about Gareth having his 500th game, as you do think, goodness me, I know he's been here a long time, but at the same time, that's a phenomenal amount of games.
Especially when you think, we joked the other week that Matt Bloomfield has been at the club for 23 Watford managers.
Yes, exactly that. How many Watford managers has Gareth been Wycombe manager?
Not quite as many, I don't think, but it's probably not far off.
I would have been so impressed if you had that statistic straight to hand. I keep, by the way, just to so that there's a little bit of references to me being in America, I should say I have worn my Wycombe Wanderers shirt, or my various shirts. As I'm not just wearing the same one and being very smelly. But nobody's mentioned it at all. And I thought in Las Vegas, where obviously you get quite a lot of English people and whatever, somebody would say something. But no, nobody said anything at all. And I've seen people wearing Arsenal shirts, Spurs, Manchester United, and even a guy wearing a Chelsea shirt, who I made the mistake of speaking to and saying, "What did you think about Roman Abramovich?" And he looked at me and said, "Was that a player?" And so that conversation didn't last very long. I know. It was just like, I suppose it's a bit like me. So yesterday I went to see the Phoenix Suns basketball team. You see, I'm not even sure which sport they play. And so I bought one of their T-shirts, and then the person next to me at the game was asking me what the starting lineup was. And I did have to say, sorry, I'm not even quite sure how many players start in basketball.
I'm not from around here.
Exactly. I'm not from around here, even though I'm wearing one of those shirts. So definitely lesson learned. Don't, just because somebody is wearing a particular shirt, necessarily go and speak to them thinking that they will have knowledge. But if anyone is listening from America who sees a rather tall person wandering around wearing a Wycombe Wanderers shirt, feel free to come up to me and speak about Wycombe Wanderers, because I'll be really, really pleased.
So you've not yet met anyone from the worldwide Wycombe Wanderers phenomenon, but next week you could well be speaking to someone who is very well connected to the club.
Well, and this is the thing. So, I didn't really expect to see many people supporting Wycombe Wanderers out in Phoenix. But next week, I am going to the what I consider is really the home of the Wycombe Wanderers worldwide phenomenon. If you don't count Adams Park, which of course is New Orleans, which is where the Couhig family are from, or they're from the state of Louisiana. So I'm going to try and catch up with Rob, and I'm also looking forward to going to Mrs. Shop as well, which is a couple of hours apparently outside New Orleans. So as long as I don't get lost on the way, then I shall be bringing you some reports. Probably not actually on next week's edition of the Wycombe Wanderers Show, but that will be the week after.
Oh, definitely something to look forward to, though. I shall be listening myself. Well, I'll be obviously listening.
My only worry is that something important will happen at the club, and then they'll both have to fly back to the UK, and then actually I'll just be in Louisiana for no reason. But there's plenty to do there.
There might be some other member of the Couhig family you can speak to them.
That would be good, actually. Yes, yeah. Any Couhig will be absolutely fine.
It'll be worth the trip just for that.
Definitely, yes. I'm sort of playing Couhig happy families. I'm happy to collect any member of the Couhig family.
As has become tradition on the show, I think it only right and proper that we leave the final words of the week to you.
Oh no, I knew you were going to say. Yeah, definitely don't go up to somebody who's wearing a Chelsea shirt in America and start speaking to them about football, because they give you a very strange look, and it's a little bit embarrassing. And strangely, it was more embarrassing for me than it was for him, even though it should have been the other way around.